All right, let's get to our tier making. So today we're going to do wide receiver and tight end tiers. And here is how this is going to work. Mike has done his basic tiers. We're going to introduce them actually starting in the middle, not starting with the best or the worst. And then JP and I can commentate, and then we'll see if we feel like moving around the teams a little bit. Well, I think we decided we were going to start with the B level teams.
For the B teams, I kind of went with these are the teams that have like two good guys, like two very good guys, not much else. So, and then remember, tight ends are included in case you're wondering. So, the Minnesota Vikings is where I'm going to start the B list. Two outstanding players, not a whole lot else there. That's kind of my definition of the B list team. Let's go with the San Francisco 49ers. You've got Debo, Kittle.
Yeah, I think it depends a little bit on how good you think Ayuk is.
Are we going to jump him up to A because of Brandon Ayuk? I mean, I personally didn't. But again, you guys have the power to change this. I'm going to go through a couple more.
Well, I'll say I thought San Francisco was more of an A team, mainly because I think George Kittle and Deebo Samuel are enough of force multipliers by themselves. Deebo was essentially a running back for the back half of the season. Also, when I assume wide receiver tight end tiers, I also rank Kyle Juszczyk in here.
No. Juszczyk doesn't count. He's a fullback.
Oh, man.
We're two teams in, and we have fullbacks lining up at wide receiver here on our tier list.
Don't blame me. Blame Kyle Shanahan. He's broken my brain.
I will note, so I put together a list where I looked at last year's DYAR numbers for receivers and then moved everybody to their new teams and then did an estimate for rookies. And San Francisco is the highest team on that list that you did not have originally as an A or an S. So I feel like they're right on the verge between a B and an A, but it really is kind of like, is Ayuk that third quality guy or not? And I don't even think Kyle Shanahan knows if he thinks Ayuk is that third quality guy or not, because like the first half of last year, he was not playing him as much.
All right. It sounds like you guys want the 49ers in the A tier, so we'll move them up here. I'll give you a team that I know is going to stay in the B tier. The Seattle Seahawks. Two good guys. Really good guys.
Two good guys.
The concept of Noah Fant is intriguing, but right now it's very concept of Noah Fant instead of like actual Noah.
Los Angeles Chargers. Two good guys. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. And then the tight end's kind of a mess. They got some decent depth guys. Buffalo Bills. Two good guys. Diggs is 1.5 guys.
Who's the other half? Is it Knox or is it Gabriel Davis?
Yeah.
I think good overall. I'm good with Buffalo being a B. They've got like 3 or 4 guys who are good, but no like great other than Diggs.
I think they're more of an A team, mainly because I think if you say like individually, like Isaiah McKenzie by himself, like is not that great of a receiver, but when you put him in the role that Buffalo has him in, like we saw late in the season where he essentially replaced Cole Beasley, and that offense got a little bit better. I do also think I'm kind of going off of the last time I saw the Bills play where Gabe Davis essentially torched the Chiefs defense.
Yes.
But I really, really do like that receiver core. I think Stephon Diggs, again, force multiplier at the position, but they have a really, really talented and deep receiving core.
I agree. So we kind of get off the two good guys, but it's still kind of similar. The Washington Commanders, McLaurin, and the other good guy, you can either put in Samuel or the rookie, but either way.
I think they're more concept than actual, like.
I would definitely move Washington down.
Curtis Samuel is like cool. He's a cool receiver, but he's rarely on the field. We haven't seen enough of De'Ami Brown to actually say like, this can be a good player for this offense. I think Jahan Dotson is good. I just haven't seen him like in that offense yet. So again, I think Washington is very much of a concept or idea rather than like actual good receiving core.
Yeah, Logan Thomas is good, but not great at tight end.
Yeah, right. Also in the B group, I have the Philadelphia Eagles.
I think the Eagles are good. They might be B+, but yeah, I think the B tier is the right place for the Eagles because we still haven't seen the big Devontae Smith NFL breakout yet. And I mean, I like Goddard, but Goddard is like Logan Thomas. He's good, but he's not great.
Right. Also, this might be controversial. The Kansas City Chiefs I have on the B tier.
I actually agree. Kelsey by himself is very, very good. But I do think the Chiefs lack depth. Missing Tyreek Hill really hurts their explosive plays, but you can kind of tell that they're shifting their offensive focus to be less big play, 40-yard touchdown to being more, okay, we're going to get guys who can sit in these underneath zones that were killing us the entire season. So you trade off those big explosive plays from Tyreek Hill for the 8-yard gains from Juju Smith-Schuster.
I definitely think Kansas City is a C.
I
like Kelsey.
Ooh.
Yeah. I like Kelsey. I think he's the best tight end in football. But I say C because we haven't seen a full, really good, healthy season from Juju Smith-Schuster in a while. McCole Hardman never became the thing that he wanted to be. Sky Moore is a rookie question mark, like all rookie question marks. I don't think we should just, and if he puts up good numbers this year, some of that is going to be Mahomes oriented in the same way Byron Pringle did last year. I just think when you look at the receivers, not the tight end, but the receivers, I would put them at C.
Are we keeping it B? You sticking with me?
Yeah, I think you have one more team that was originally on your B list left to go.
Yes, my most controversial choice, the New York Jets. As a fan of Garrett Wilson,
I really like this.
Of CJ Uzomah and Tyler Conklin at tight end, as a fan of the potential of Corey Davis and Elijah Moore and of Berrios. And I just put forth a conjecture before you guys tear me down that we don't know how good this receiving core could be because it was Zach Wilson and Mike White and Josh Johnson. And I think
that's a reasonable argument. I'll tell you, when I did my little DYAR quick addition thing, the Jets are 29th. But there's no doubt that in part they're 29th because their quarterback was sucked.
On paper, this receiver core should be really good. They all complement each other really well. I think Corey Davis is that kind of bigger Shanahan style receiver who will do a lot of the dirty work, blocking, do a lot of crossing route stuff. Garrett Wilson is going to be the explosive yards after the catch guy. I think Elijah Moore is going to have another solid season.
Yeah, right.
But again, I kind of think we got to buy into them right now as a concept. I'm going to use concept-based accept results here right now because, like you said, their quarterbacks weren't very good last year.
I mean, Corey Davis at least has past results. I think Uzomah and Conklin are very average starters.
Okay.
They're not really above average starters. They're 16th best type guys. Yeah. I mean, I think I would put them in the C tier, but JP, I guess you're the deciding vote. Would you leave them at B or move them to C?
I'm going to leave them in B. I think I'm buying into the concept of the Jets receiver core on paper.
So now let's hear the teams that you originally had in the C block.
We're going to start with the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's like eating at a Jersey diner. Quality is quantity is and it's a lot of names and a lot of money, and it's just kind of
I kind of think I'd move them down, mainly because I think they have a lot of slot receivers. They have a lot of number 2 and number 3 receivers. They added Zay Jones, Christian Kirk, and Evan Ingram, but now you're asking them to be your leading receivers on a team that was starting Jamal Agnew and Tavon Austin.
I would say for now, let's leave the Jags at C, but let's see which other teams we have at C and D and decide which one that they belong with when we're done. I will say when I did my little DYAR add-up thing, they came out surprisingly average, but part of that is because Kirk had so much value last year, and I don't think that Kirk can duplicate that this year.
Dallas Cowboys, this might be controversial, a team that we're used to putting in higher tiers, but look at who they have at receiver right now. CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup. I see the name James Washington on the depth chart, and I want to cry. And at tight end, you have Dalton Schultz and some backups. So really because of Lamb's potential and because we've seen a lot from Gallup in the past, that was keeping them at C tier for me.
I'd agree. I think they're a C tier receiving core. I think if they were able to retain Amari Cooper, you would have them a little higher. I think the ceiling is a lot higher with Amari Cooper there. Mm-hmm. But again, I think they lack depth.
Yeah, I might put them at C+, but the depth is bad. Like as good as having Lamb and Gallup as your top 2 guys, and Schultz is a good tight end, and Yeah, I think C is about where they belong, I think.
Well, a team that you talked about is good in concept, but not necessarily good on the field. The Carolina Panthers also made my C tier.
This is one where you really have to do the work to try to separate the talents of the receivers from the quarterback throwing to them, because in my little, back of the envelope DYAR calculation, they were in last place.
Right.
But you consider who was throwing to them and how did you really, with Darnold throwing them, how do you really see DJ Moore being DJ Moore? How can you really see Robbie Anderson being Robbie Anderson? Terrace Marshall did nothing.
I don't like their tight end room at all.
Tommy Tumbles? You don't like Tommy Tumbles?
I'm not there yet.
The guitar player for the Germs in 1977, Tommy Tremble?
I'm not there yet with Tommy Tremble, the most Notre Dame tight end receiver name ever.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, I think we all know DJ Moore can play. Robbie Anderson is like the vertical guy. It's almost like another example of two good guys, but two kind of like,
Yeah. So I guess I'm fine with leaving them at C for now, even though I don't like the tight ends and I don't like the depth.
The New England Patriots?
Yeah, this one confuses me because when we were thinking about it beforehand and I was thinking subjectively, I was like, the Patriots seem more like a D to me. And then I did the little DYAR calculation thing. And of all the teams that you had in the C tier, guess which one was the highest?
Patriots?
The New England Patriots. And I don't think you can say it's because their quarterback lifted them there.
Initially, I had them in D tier. It's like if you get an air freshener for a car, but you don't have an engine. Like, yeah, it's cool to have, but you don't have to make it go.
I think they think Devontae Parker might be the engine, but I've never been a big Devontae Parker guy. Kendrick Bourne had a really good year. Kendrick Bourne was really good last year.
Yeah.
Aguilar, I don't know what is going on with that guy. Jacoby Myers is good, not great. Jonnu Smith is better than he showed last year. I mean, I think in the end, C level is the right place for them.
Let's go on to the New Orleans Saints, with the preface that I really assume we've seen the best of Mike Thomas.
Yeah, I feel like, again, this is another one of those where we have to, imagine the concept of a healthy Michael Thomas, because it's been a while since he's actually been healthy. And when you compliment a healthy Michael Thomas with Chris Olave, that's a really good pairing.
And Troutman is sort of like Fetch. I keep waiting for it to happen.
Also, and you guys, I think I went too high. I was too generous for the team I usually rip. The Indianapolis Colts. I might have stuck TY back in there in my brain.
I would move the Colts down.
I'd move them down too.
You were talking about a second-round receiver as their wide receiver too, and Paris Campbell is like vaporware, and Mo Alley Cox is like the 23rd best tight end in football.
I love Michael Pittman as a wide receiver one. I think he is ascending. He wasn't helped very much by Carson Wentz turning into Carson Wentz near the back half of the season. But, again, they just lack depth. Mo Alley Cox and I think it's Jelani Woods who they drafted. That's going to be the biggest tight end room ever, and I'm excited to see it. But I just think that is a D tier core right now.
Two more teams from the C tier here, the Steelers and the Browns, and two very different receiving cores here. I think the Browns are very top-heavy with Amari and are lacking depth, and the Steelers have a bunch of little guys and a decent tight end.
I would actually rank them in B. I'd rank the Steelers in B. Deontay Johnson gets kind of a bad rep. I think Chase Claypool, again, is a good receiver.
You were talking about in concept. Chase Claypool and Deontay Johnson is a concept.
Claypool could be better than he's been. I feel like Freiermuth definitely could develop, had a very good year for a rookie, but he's not there yet. George Pickens is, another one of these rookie wide receivers, but he's a second or, round pick or whatever, third round pick. He's not a first. So I guess I would leave them at C.
And the Browns, we are good with the Browns at C, or we have a fight here?
No, I think I'm good with the Browns at C too. Now let's hit the teams you originally had with Ds.
Baltimore Ravens kick off the Ds. The receiver core everyone's talking about. If you look at 4 Downs and Football Outsiders, Rob Weintraub's talking about them.
I think they would be an F if it wasn't for Mark Andrews.
I think I am buying a lot into the concept because I love their tight end room. I think Mark Andrews, again, he's entering that tier of being a force multiplier when he's on the field. Nick Boyle is going to be healthy. They drafted Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar.
Yeah.
But I can understand having them in D tier. I have them in C because I just love the tight end.
I feel like those wide receiver 2 and 3, and there's no depth even after that, really draws it back.
Next on the D tier, the Tennessee Titans. I struggle with them trying to figure out what they really have in Robert Woods coming off an injury. And
and Treylon Burks was number 1 in playmaker score, but I don't really think that puts him ahead of Williams and Olave, really.
If you look at their depth, like, that is not a good receiver room.
Yeah, at this point, their starting tight end is Hooper, Austin Hooper.
That's a decent ball player.
I'm kind of teetering on the idea of making this one an F.
Do it.
All right, let's make them an F.
The Detroit Lions, featuring Amon-Ra St. Brown. We have DJ Chark coming off an injury. We have Jameson Williams coming off an injury. It was tricky with all these rookies coming off an injury and a guy who had like a half a good year 2 years ago coming off an injury and a guy who looked good catching very short passes on a bad team. I just kind of stuck them on this tier.
I like DJ Hawkinson. I think Hawkinson.
I would honestly make I'm going to make the argument for making them a C. Hawkinson is really good. We've never seen what he looks like with a really good quarterback throwing to him. Chark is good, and we've never seen what he looks like with a really good quarterback throwing to him.
Like we're saying, like, yeah, Chark has been good, but coming off of a broken ankle, that's going to be interesting for a guy was mainly a deep threat in Jacksonville. Right. Jameson Williams is coming off a torn ACL. It relies a lot on guys returning back to their previous form off of leg injuries.
The Houston Texans, Brandon Cooks, who has gone there to be forgotten by society, Nico Collins, who came on strong at the end of last year, John Mechie, another coming back from injury, guys who've been knocking around the league for 6 or 7 years, whose name you might remember but you shouldn't care about, and a tight end group featuring Brevin Jordan, Pharaoh Brown, and Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah, they're on the edge of F2.
I like Brandon Cooks. I think he's more bottom tier wide receiver 1, high tier wide receiver 2. I think it is very much like that scene from the Temptations where it's like, I'm David Ruffin and these are the Temptations. It is, I'm Brandon Cooks and these are the Texans receiving options. I do think they should stay in D tier. I'm a believer in Brandon Cooks.
All right. I'll give them Brandon Cooks, keeping them in the D tier.
Last team in the D tier, Gettleman's All-Stars, the New York Giants. All the leftover ghetto guys.
This is one where it feels like they should be higher.
Right. To be fair, they were having plays called for them by Jason Garrett and Joe Judge.
Yeah, I don't know. This one might be on the verge of being a C.
We're banking a lot on Kenny Golladay bouncing back. We're banking a lot on Kadarius Toney being better than he was last year.
Wendell Robinson being the sleeper from playmaker score, but he actually just completely repeats all of Kadarius Toney's talents.
It's going to be interesting to see how Brian Daboll uses both of those guys at the same time, especially because they don't have a tight end. So It was essentially going to be 10 personnel the entire game.
Oh, I think there'll be more Ricky Seals-Jones than you think there will be. But it's
more Ricky Seals-Jones than anyone wants in this world of football fandom. At F, we have the Atlanta Falcons.
I'm not going to double count Kyle Pitts. My argument is that Brian Edwards is better than you think the last couple of years.
Just going to tell you, Brian Edwards was catching 3 passes a game.
But boy, did those 3 passes look great. Oh my God. Those 3 catches look awesome, man.
I would honestly boost them to a D.
I'm buying into the jumbo jet Falcons.
Right? But I don't know. I'd put them at D. Let's put the Falcons with a D.
The Green Bay Packers.
Oh, yeah. That is.
As much as I like Robert Tonyan, I'm fine with having them as an F. You have a special tier marked the Bears tier. Can I guess which team is going to go there?
Go ahead.
I think that's the Bears with an F-.
It is the Bears with the F-, did not participate, did not show up, must repeat the grade, summer school remediation grade. I'm not listing these guys again. You know who they are. No, you don't know who they are, and that's the problem. And we've talked a lot about the Bears receiving core in the past. F-.
But let's start with the A's.
We'll start with Miami Dolphins at the A list with Tyreek Hill, force multiplier, JP. I think that's a pretty clear example of one. With Jalen Waddle at his side. Mike Gesicki, I think, is a very, very good tight end. And I think they have pretty good depth as well.
I'm not as sold on their depth as most people are, but I think the top end, like Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, are two very good like compliments to each other.
So we'll leave him at A. We'll leave him at A. Cedric Wilson, people do like him. I'm with JP. The depth is not good.
Also in the A tier, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, I think if Gronk doesn't come back, they're B.
Really? I could see that argument. I think, again, they're lacking depth. I think they addressed that a little bit with adding Russell Gage to be their wide receiver 3. O.J. Howard leaving and going to Buffalo in free agency really hurt the tight end room, especially if Gronk doesn't come back.
We're all assuming he's coming back, so I'm fine with leaving them at A. But I think if it turns out he's not coming back, I would drop them to B. Denver
Broncos. This should have, there's a conceptual element to them because of all the bad quarterbacking, but it has a combination of depth and breadth.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I could see the argument for putting them in S if they had a better tight end.
See, I feel like I would drop them to B because right now it's just a concept. I'm waiting for Judy to have the big, healthy year where he's really good, and I'm waiting for Hamler to really do something. I feel like they're more conceptual, and I would drop them to B.
I love Cortland Sutton. That's one of the main reasons why I think I'd have them borderline S. I think Cortland Sutton is a very, very good receiver. I think Judy is going to have his chance to prove that he's a really good receiver in this league, especially now that he has a quarterback that can throw over 15 yards.
Yeah, they are tricky because you always have to look at who was healthy at what time. For example, Judy was there for most of the Drew Lock time. Slightly different order here, but another A-tier team, the Las Vegas Raiders, when you take Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, who is very, very good, and you have Waller at tight end.
My back-of-the-envelope DYAR calculation, they were number 1. When you put all the value of what you get from Devontae Adams with Waller and how good Renfrow has been. I mean, if you think of Renfrow as the slot guy, if other outside receiver was better, I would say yes. But right now, other wide receiver is probably Demarcus Robinson or Keelan Cole.
Yeah, I think they're another one of those teams where, like, they give off the vibes.
They're one guy away from being S tier.
Here's a team that definitely gives off the vibes. The Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
It really depends how much you believe that Allen Robinson had his soul sucked out in Chicago and just stopped trying. It was not just the quarterback was bad. He sucked last year. I mean, there's a legit argument that he just stopped caring, and so that's why he sucked, like Randy Moss in the last year at Oakland. But there's a possibility Robinson is not what everybody thinks he is. If you believe in Robinson, then they definitely are an A. Van Jefferson is underrated, I think.
Yeah, I like him.
And so is Higbee.
I am interested to see what happens with OBJ. I don't think they have enough cap space or enough footballs to throw to him. But if they were able to get him back into LA, I think that'd be really interesting in terms of where they rank. But I do definitely think they're an A tier. I'm not as sold on Tyler Higbee.
Last team on the A tier, Arizona Cardinals. And I want to give Michael Walsh the no prize because he predicted the S tier team, the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, does that mean putting a halo on them for what they did late in the season? I leave that up to you guys to decide.
Putting Arizona in the A tier requires expectations for Rondale Moore and Marquise Brown, but I'm okay with that.
As Marquise Brown, I mean, we've seen some pretty good Marquise Brown.
I do still worry about their depth a little bit.
You know what? That Wesley kid was not bad last year. Their depth is better than you think it is.
AJ Green is still there, too, playing a role and wasn't terrible last year.
AJ Green proved a lot to me last year. I did not think he had anything left.
Right.
My argument is going to be, I don't think the Bengals are S tier. I would put nobody in the S tier right now.
Ooh,
because I think to be the S tier, you need an above average player at all 4 starting positions. The team I was actually going to bring up as what would be an S tier team is Tampa Bay before Antonio Brown lost his mind.
I don't think the Bengals are an S tier. The way I see it is they have guys who could be a wide receiver 1 or 2 on practically every other team.
Those 2 guys are great. The tight ends are meh, and there's no depth behind those guys. And that's why I would make them an A and not an S. But I think that the best right now is either the Raiders or the Bengals. Okay. And they each have one hole. The hole for the Bengals is tight end, and the hole for the Raiders is opposite of Adams.
Let's show a show of hands. Who wants the Raiders in the S tier? Who wants the Bengals in the S tier?
All right.